Two wildfires broke out this week outside Flagstaff, Arizona, forcing the evacuation of nearly 2,500 homes. The twin spring blazes illustrate the increasing threat from fires in the West ahead of the peak summer season. With nearly 41 million acres burned in the past 5 years alone, new thinking is emerging on how we combat wildfires, along with growing concerns for the men and women who put their lives on the line fighting them. Here's Brook Silva Braga from the wildfire epicenter in California.
In July 2018, a patch of dry summer brush ignited in Shasta County, California.
It seems like that's the story that gets played over and over recently. Burning areas that haven't burned in a long time, and now people live there.
Few people were better prepared for what became known as the car fire than Aaron Humphrey.
So I was born in the fire, basically, into the Forest Service. My dad worked on the Laguna hotshots down on the Cleveland National Forest.
Aaron also became a hotshot. The dangerous job of working on a wildfire's edge and scraping the ground bare to starve the fire of fuel. 20 years in, he'd become the leader, a superintendent, but still wasn't ready for what the car fire became, devouring 500,000 California acres and taking 8 lives.
The fire environment created its own weather all night.
Got about a 100-foot wall of flame coming down.
I honestly didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to be there. So it was hard.
Each of the last 2 years have had a fire twice as big as the car. Superfires are fueled by dry conditions. That's thanks to a changing climate. They're also harder to battle because more homes near wildlands mean far more places to protect. But ironically, the chief of the Forest Service, Randy Moore, says much of the trouble was created nearly a century ago by the Forest Service itself.
Back in 1935, Chief Silcox implemented this 10 a.m. policy. Every fire would be put out by 10 a.m. the next morning. What we didn't realize at the time was the ecological value of fire. Now we have an overdense forest because we were putting all the fires out. What you have is a greater opportunity for catastrophic wildfires.
So Moore, a Forest Service lifer who was long based in the West, has plans to thin 50 million acres over the next 10 years, cutting and selling what they can, but relying largely on what's known as prescribed fires.
Down low, down low.
California's state firefighters are burning too.
I want the message to be that not all fire is bad.
Cal Fire's Gus Boston told us it gives him a better chance of stopping a future blaze like the one that destroyed nearby Paradise.
And when this burn is successful, what will this look like?
Return it back to where the brush isn't so dense.
But the American West is so big and so dry, burning brush is far from a silver bullet. In fact, the Forest Service paused their burns this spring after one in New Mexico grew wildly out of control.
We have to learn to live with fire. In fact, we are living with fire. We're just not living with it very well.
Chris Scow retired as a Forest Service deputy director for fire and says the ultimate solution will be nothing short of rebuilding the West.
We need to have highways, water delivery systems, electrical distribution that can live with fire being on the landscape.
If that sounds expensive, it would be. So for now, a more brutal solution is being employed, sending men and women into impossibly massive fires and hoping they come out okay. Often, they do not.
I don't know how to put this in the right words, but I just felt angry all the time. I felt anxious and I felt angry.
In 2019, after his 25th season, Aaron Humphrey left the Forest Service, citing the toll deadly fires and severe crew injuries had taken on his mental health.
For guys who do this a long time, how common are mental health challenges?
It's more common than I think anyone can ever say.
Humphrey wrote down what he was feeling.
Just know I'm putting it all out there, so maybe it helps someone.
And emailed it to colleagues as a goodbye letter to the Forest Service.
I needed real help and not just talking to friends and drinking. Professional help.
Other letters followed.
To whom it may concern, I'm resigning after 17 years with the Forest Service.
Mike West detailed his trouble getting treatment for PTSD, the toll on home life, and the pay, which even after President Biden intervened last year,
what I still think is not enough,
starts at just $15 an hour. That's far below what local agencies like CAL FIRE pay.
If you're putting an incredible strain on your family and risking your life, you deserve to be able to support your family without relying on insane amounts of overtime.
West became a teacher. Humphrey took an easier, higher-paying fire job with a utility company. Many others left, too. And yet, the Forest Service repeatedly told Congress this spring they were on track to be fully staffed.
We have brought on about 90% of that already, and we'll get there 100% shortly.
What are you seeing?
On the ground, that sounded impossible to Scott Burkhart, a California hotshot boss who lost 40% of his crew this year.
I respect their decisions. I respect them going to make more money, but it's hard.
The replacements, attracted to adventure and beauty, can't always afford housing.
You have guys living in their vehicle.
Oh, affirmative, yes.
In frustration, Burkhart took one of the resignation letters he had received and forwarded it to the Forest Service leadership, along with his own grim message.
Watching the mass exodus of our operational knowledge is one of the saddest evolutions I've witnessed. His resignation embodies every deficiency that will contribute to the biblical destruction ahead of us.
When we met Chief Moore early this month, he conceded they had not hired all 11,300 firefighters they were hoping for.
Currently, we're just under 9,000 employees, which pushes about 80%.
Moore said his April testimony that they'd already brought on 90% of their goal assumed everyone would accept their offer, an assumption that speaks to a disconnect between the Home Office in D.C. and the firefighters in the forest.
We spoke to one person out in California who said they see this testimony that says basically everything's okay. And he's saying, wait a minute, I lost 8 of the 20 guys on my hotshot. We went to a job fair where we're offering $15 and the fast food restaurants are offering $18. Right. There isn't a sense of urgency around how dire it is.
And I know that that's all true. You can go to a fast food restaurant and make more than what our lower graded employees were making.
But that makes your job hard.
Of course it does. It makes it more complicated.
Okay, here we go.
Part of the solution was promised in last year's infrastructure bill, which included raises for wildland firefighters if Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack and Office of Personnel Management Director Kiran Ahuja determined raises were needed to help with hiring. But 7 months later, no raises have been given. In a joint statement, the agencies told us, we expect to have updates related to the pay increases out to our workforce very soon. But that will be too late for the spring hiring season. The Forest Service told us this week, nationally, they are now 90% staffed. But across California, Oregon, and Washington State, more than 1,000 vacancies remain.
Do you think you'll stay?
Yeah. I'll be here until I retire. And that's why I'm talking to you, because I want this to succeed. I want this to keep going. I want to see folks get the respect that I think they deserve.
For CBS Saturday Morning, Brook Silva Braga, Butte County, California.
And they deserve a lot of respect. That is tough work.
You look
emotional.
They deserve respect and money and more money.
And
I mean,
more
paying
money.
$15 to someone putting their life on the line on a daily basis, trying to save other people.
We talk about this with service professions, with police, with fire, obviously. In this case, these wildfires are something that can affect so many. We need to treat it the same way. We talk about it with teachers.
Oh, yeah.
The people that we trust the most.
That's the basic infrastructure of our country.
We have to find a way.
Those two cabinet level members and President Biden hopefully will be talking about this and are watching this show to see it.